Hello, Fractured Protagonist here again. So I was kind of struggling to come up with a topic to talk about today, but I thought, well, it's literally the last day before 2026 comes to an official end, and everybody talks about like their New Year's resolutions and the newest thing that they're going to do for the new year of so and so 20,000 XX. And I thought maybe I could kind of talk about that stuff, but it won't be, honestly, it won't be really something that I'd want to talk about at length because it'll sound kind of corny. Oh, my New Year's resolution will be to be a more fit version of myself or a nicer version of myself. And those things really sound nice, but they don't sound like something I personally would talk about in my age now. I mean, I'm in my mid 40s, right? So I've said that before, and I've made those kinds of resolution promises to myself, quote unquote, in the past, and for all intents and purposes, they've worked out. I've more or less followed through with my promises to myself, so I've gone through those things. So I guess I wanted to actually talk about the opposite, which would be like the topic of failure. And I've failed a lot in a lot of endeavors I've attempted over the years. And one example was back then I wanted to try to become a comic book artist. And that's an industry that's already full of extremely talented individuals that I realized I couldn't keep up with. That's part of the reason why I even became a graphic artist and have been in it for 20 years, because at least I can be creative, but it's a different wheelhouse because I can't imagine myself being a comic book artist these days because it's like every single day trying to come up with new comic book pages and trying to set myself apart from the rest of the extremely, like I said, talented artists out there and trying just to stand out and have like awesome art every single day. And commercial graphic design is similar, where I do have to come up with new art for different brands every day, every week, every month. But it's different because I get to work with different brands, so it serves as a kind of palette cleanser when I move on to the next project. But the downside to that is the effect of burnout. And I'm not sure if you guys experienced it, but I've experienced it, and it's not a good feeling. But I'll save the topic of burnout for another video. Now, getting back to the topic of failure seems especially appropriate because here I am in this YouTube space and I've created a channel and I'm doing it in the hopes of becoming successful, just like every other small YouTuber out there. And I'm just, I feel like I'm struggling to figure out how to do things. And, I've watched tons and tons of videos of how to gain followers and subscribers and watching analytics and watching just literally countless videos up to this point. And granted, I am really, really still new to this whole YouTube thing, even though I've had another channel in the past, but I just do that to watch things. I didn't really do anything with it. I just use it as a hobby. So this is a different spin using this channel to find any modicum of success. And I want to try to use it to, like all of us, replace my 9 to 5 job. And I've discussed that before in my previous videos. And in the beginning, I was pretty motivated and I thought to myself, all right, well, I'm a graphic designer, so I can bang out some decent thumbnails for the algorithm. and see if I can learn how to come up with some good titles and descriptions so that the algorithm can pick that up and maybe I can, have my stuff pushed out to the right kind of viewers and see how it goes. And I've even started scripting a lot of my videos, and I wanted to see how that went. I don't know if you've noticed, but yeah, scripting some of my videos, especially the last two or three, while it helps organizing my thoughts, it kind of it makes the editing process longer, and I don't know if it sounds natural, but for me it really doesn't sound natural, and so this is why in this video I decided to just kind of, you know, talk instead of reading from the script because I just want it to sound more natural and more myself. And honestly, going back to the topic that I was trying to figure out for this video, man, I was struggling for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 days because I wanted to make another video to push out this week. And I thought, I'm trying to stay on a schedule and I'm trying to keep up with making videos. But I also have to remember that everything, everything is a learning process, from editing and how my voice sounds on the mic to literally using YouTube Studio and learning all the things I have to do, the settings and all the things I got to tick to make sure that everything works just fine. And another reminder I have to tell myself is that some days are just going to be better than others, and it'll be okay if I don't feel up to it, because sometimes it happens. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I feel really dumb when I make mistakes, and I know it shouldn't be like that. I tell people all the time that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. I tell my kid all the time, make mistakes. You can make the same mistakes a couple of times, but you really have to learn from them and, try your best. You don't have to be perfect, but try your best and things will work out. And in 2026, I know I'm going to make mistakes. I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes, the same mistakes maybe that I try really hard to learn from. But again, I'm not perfect. And I always repeat that because it's true. Nobody's perfect, and I'm definitely not perfect in any regard. This is exactly why I named my channel Fractured Protagonist, emphasis on fractured, because I've lost pieces of myself over all these decades of being on this earth. And not to sound super deep or anything, but when you go through a certain type of negative experience or experiences, these things take a piece of you. The people that were involved in these events, and they have a way of just taking something from you, and you're really never the same again. So what you're left to do is do your best to build yourself back up, and failing along the way, but hopefully failing upwards and trying to just put yourself back together and be the best person you can be. And honestly, I still have a lot to learn. I'm gonna turn 47 this year, and I don't know everything. Like, I keep stressing this, but literally nobody knows everything. And people who act like that, you know, I really try to stay away from them because it just takes a lot of energy to try to keep up with all that fakeness. And as a single dad, I don't have time for any of that BS. I try to make time for the things that are the most important in my life, and definitely fakeness is not one of them. But circling again back to the topic of failure, it really all is in your perspective and how you see things. If you feel like what you're doing works for you in your life, whatever it is, how you make money, how you make friends, how you make, a particular meal, if all that stuff works for you, then that's great. Um, if in any case that any one of those things don't seem to work out for you, then maybe you can find a different approach, learn a different pathway to honestly any of those things, and you should be fine. And it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be my age, you could be 46, you could be 26, you could be 56, 86. All of these are applicable to anybody's life, no matter what. And if you actually think about it, failure can be used as a form of discipline because you could use it as a tool. You could learn from it in terms of what I did wrong in those first couple of steps and how I can go about to improve the next handful so that everything can slowly build up to something more positive. And what I also have to remember is anything worth doing takes time. And I really wish that it didn't because then I wouldn't have to wait so long. But that's not how life works. But it is good to get a head start on these ideas of how you want to make things better for 2026 because sitting around really isn't going to do anything for you. It's definitely not going to help. So, getting ahead with better habits is definitely going to help you in the long run for any goal you're trying to achieve. So, that's basically everything I wanted to talk about in this video. And you got to realize also that there's a version of yourself waiting for you to make these decisions so that you can catch up with this version of yourself that can then tell you, hey, look, I've been waiting for you to get here. And I'm happy that you took whatever steps you needed to take to make these things happen. And it's going to feel good when you realize that you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for purpose, a bigger purpose to take yourself seriously and make the right moves. Anyway, if you learned something from this video, drop a comment below about your own life experiences. Subscribe if you feel like it. That would be awesome. This has been Fractured Protagonist, reminding you guys to keep it simple. Talk to you guys later.